There's been a lot of talk recently about memory prices with RAM, SSDs, even GPUs, and a lot of people were expecting, or I should say, they were hoping Black Friday to finally bring those prices down. And well, while the prices did move, they didn't really drop by much. In fact, in some cases, the discounts were tiny, or the price even crept up a little bit. So, of course, I've been getting a question. Is this inflation? Is this because of all the crazy tariffs and all the madness that's going on in the world? Well, kind of. My name is Arya, this is AZM Lab, and in this video, I'm going to break down and bust the myths and exactly explain what's been going on, why the prices haven't fallen the way people expected, and what it means for your next PC build, or if you're in the market to buy a new laptop, and whether you should buy now or wait. So, in case if you haven't come across it yet, or you don't know what's going on, or what we're even talking about, if I say the price of memory, whether it's RAM, SSD, or even GPUs, have exploded, well, I will be understating it, and then some, especially in case of RAM. I've seen some kits literally triple in price. Now, over the past few years, we have already seen this sort of a, how shall I put it, steady increase across PC parts in general anyways. And a lot of that comes down to, well, lack of competition, and especially at the high-end GPU market. And yes, before anybody says anything, AMD has been giving Nvidia a real run for their money recently. But at the absolute top end, sadly, Nvidia still dominates. And that means prices, well, for them anyways, don't really have a reason to come down. Another element behind rising prices, well, are rare earth materials. Or really, I should say, the lack of them. And when I say the lack, I don't mean we have run out. I mean, we're using so much, so fast, that the supply and the demand are struggling to basically match each other. And if you're not familiar with the whole terminology rare earth, or you heard of it and you're like, what are they talking about? These are basically minerals or metals used in almost every part of electronics, from gold, silver to more specialized materials like, how's it pronounced again? Neodymium. Sorry, I butchered the name, and a bunch of really hard to pronounce names that I'm not even gonna try. Basically, they're quite rare and difficult to find, and mine really. And there is also the element of tariffs and global political instability. And yes, especially when it comes to those, I was specifically asked, are tariffs the main reason for this recent madness? And the honest answer is partially yes. Even in case of the other elements that I mentioned earlier, they add to the cost. But they're not the real driving force behind what's we've kind of seen in the last few weeks, or I should say a couple of months now at this stage. The real reason, for these prices suddenly spiking is the massive demand coming from AI. And AI data centers basically buying memory at a scale that the consumer PC market simply cannot compete with. Crazy, I know. And when companies are buying the DRAM and NAND by the millions, well, retail prices, they straight away go up. And we have had shortages in the past, and things, well, they did eventually calm down, but this time they do feel different. And I was hoping to see kind of the effect and impact during Black Friday. But sadly, during Black Friday, me and so many of my friends, we have noticed that the prices of 5090s, RAM kits, SSDs, everything really that are memory related, in some cases have rise instead of fall. So the big question is this going to continue? Now, what I would say is, guys, recently there's been a report that Nvidia is actually asking their board partners, companies like Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, to source the memory chips for the next generation of GPUs themselves. And well, that is not a good sign, because when Nvidia stops supplying the memory and shifts the responsibility to the manufacturers, that's kind of already telling what's going on. It usually means they're expecting a shortage or higher prices to continue well into next year or even beyond. And when you look at really on how aggressively countries like China and so many others, USA and so on, and well, honestly, most of the world are investing in AI infrastructure, the demand for memory is only going one way, and that is up. Now, as I mentioned earlier, with the rare earth supplies already stretched to their limits, what we are likely to see is a small rise, maybe even more, then essentially like a plateau where the prices finally stabilize. But it will be very odd and unlikely, I would say, that the price drop that people are hoping will happen. Now, the only tiny bit of good news is that things like Intel shared memory CPUs architectures that are coming might help, shall we say, ease the pressure on the market. But that's kind of a long-term thing in terms of the supply and demand. Still, probably the impact is going to be very little, which means this isn't a complete Armageddon, as it says on the title, for PC pricing, but it's still definitely not looking great. So, if you found yourself a deal on a laptop or a PC, whether it's secondhand or brand new, that's close to what it cost 2 or 3 months ago, my honest advice is take it, because everything we're seeing says prices are far more likely to go up than down. Hope this video has helped, and if it has, don't forget, as always, to smash that like button and do drop your comments down below. Love to hear them, whether it's around what you've been planning in terms of if you're building a PC, whether you're thinking of delaying it, or even if you have a question not even related to this video. Love to hear them. Maybe something I'll cover on the next video. And for that and a lot more around how-to guides, free tools, tech tips, and just generally tech talks, ding that notification, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, take care and peace.